Hello and welcome to the Overland Journal podcast. I am your host, Scott Brady, and I am here with the Hourless life. So I have Eric and Brittany with me. They were on this podcast when they were just getting ready to start their journey down through the Americas. And at the time, I mentioned hopefully we get them back when they're done with their trip. And how lucky are we to be all sitting here again at Overland Journal HQ and having another podcast. This is actually the first podcast that we're recording in our new studio here. We just moved one building over with all of the changes that are happening with the Overland Collective, which is very exciting. We've got a new recording space, and that's where we're going to try to do all of our in-person podcasts from now on. But it is such an honor to have you both on this podcast. You guys are such an inspiration. Your whole family is such an inspiration to this community, and it shows people what's possible. If you aim for the moon, a lot of times you can see quite a few things along the way, and you guys have done that. You guys aim for the moon, and you guys have been achieving your goals, and I can't wait to talk a little bit about your experiences as you drove down through the Americas. And we were lucky to just see each other recently at the premiere of the Expedition Greenland film.
Wow.
In Utah. What did you guys think of that?
That was incredible.
I can't believe how the timing worked out
Yeah,
for us to be there.
It was really perfect.
But I was writing an article about Expedition 7 in 2022 and waiting to see that documentary. So exciting.
And to have the whole team
now.
there. The whole team was there to have you guys reunited and to be able to do the Q&A. It was really something special.
A special thanks to Hankook Dynapro Tires for supporting this week's podcast. Visit expeditionportal.com to see our content series in partnership with Hankook, where you'll learn about this year's Jeep Beach event in Daytona, Florida, get tips on exploring the Ocala National Forest, and take a tour of the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America at the Daytona International Speedway. We also take a close look at how to choose a mud terrain, all-terrain, or hybrid rugged terrain tire using the Hankook Dynapro tire lineup as examples.
It was so neat that Greg Miller, who is the one that was the expedition leader on the Greenland trip, he was able to pull all of us together. We were able to all come into Salt Lake City, even Torfi, our mechanic from Iceland, and it was such an honor to have the entire group there in one shot, and to interact with the community. And of course, we ended up at Cruiser Fest, which is a really neat event that's held every year at the Land Cruiser Heritage Museum. So what were some of the takeaways you guys had from the film? What did you think?
Wow. First, Torfi blew us away. I got to say
Rockstar.
that.
You shared that with me yesterday. Talk a little bit about what you noticed about Torfi.
What I really noticed about him, he just had a can-do attitude in the middle of absolutely nowhere, where you didn't have all of the materials or the things that you needed. He just needed to figure out a way to make things happen, and he never felt like this can't be done. It was always a can-do attitude.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things that I came to some realization around probably about halfway through my travels. I came across, and it's a fairly it's a very old Stoic principle, but like the only thing that we can actually control is our reaction to things. Like everything else is very much out of our control, or there's lots of other things that influence our life and the outcomes of our life and everything else like that. But the one thing, no matter what's happening, that we can control is our reaction to it. And I even think Viktor Frankl talks about that a little bit in The Man's Search for Meaning, which is a really powerful book around his experiences, I think he was in Auschwitz or something like that. But really powerful insight to me that when I'm traveling and it feels like everything's going wrong and the border couldn't get any worse, that I still have one thing that I can control, and that's the way that I'm reacting to it. And I think Torfi's such a beautiful example of that in the film, of like, let's make some fun of it. Let's not take it all too seriously. We're supposed to be having an adventure, which means that things are supposed to go not according to plan. Otherwise, we're just a tourist on a tour. If things are going wrong, then we're on an adventure. So I think
felt
that's good.
that it was such a high watermark as far as content goes, but not content for content's sake. It was amazingly high production quality, but it's something that the community can see that it's not just about the travel, it's about who we are.
Yeah, that's
on
so
the
true.
travel. And I had heard it said about the Grand Expedition 7 adventure, but also about this where Greg always emphasizes how not a cross word was spoken.
Yeah.
And that's always very convicting for me because I can be very cross when we're on the road, and just trying to having that mentorship and that model of it can go this bad and
Yeah.
you can still be this person. And that's something that I really took away from our past 4 years. I think before going, I thought so much about the things we were going to see and even the people that we were going to meet, but it ended up being such an internal journey for me, much more than I expected it to be. And that's something I saw in the Expedition Greenland film as well.
Well, maybe let's talk about that a little bit. How do you feel like that the journey, because you guys are, you're going to keep going. You got lots of big plans we'll talk about later in the podcast, but this journey across the Americas, and you guys did very, appropriate slow travel. So you really let yourselves immerse into the cultures. What were some of the big things that you felt changed about you on that trip?
Well, I can tell you one story that really stood out to me. And I've shared this. I don't know if I can share it without tearing up, though. We had just crossed into Ecuador, and we weren't on the Pan American side. And
We were in the jungle.
We were in the jungle. And I had downloaded all the maps. I had done all the things, right? Everything you were supposed to do. I was Johnny on the spot, had it done. We crossed the border, and everything disappeared. Nothing was working at all. And so I had no navigation. I had no clue as to where we were supposed to be going. My phone wasn't working at all. I got very quickly embittered, I guess is a good word for it, and frustrated. And we got to this place. We stayed in this moye. It's like a little docking pier type place. And it was really loud. There was loud music. I didn't get any sleep. We were trying to get to Quito, so we had to drive through the Ecuadorian Amazon to get there. And some of it was off-road. Some of it was pavement. We're going up this hill, and I am just angry. Like, Brittany's not even looking at me. She's like, she knows that anything's about to set me off. And I'm so angry because my phone's not working, right? And so we come around this corner, and it's a little bit bumpy off-road, and there's this house. It's dilapidated. It's a ruin, essentially. Sure. And there's a boy about Caspian's age, and he's wearing, I'll never forget it, he's wearing a yellow T-shirt. See? He's wearing a yellow T-shirt, underwear. He's got no shoes on. There's not another adult in sight.
Sure.
He's got 2 rocks. And he's playing with these 2 rocks, and he's happy as can be.
Yeah.
And my biggest problem is that my $1,000 phone is not working in my $125,000 vehicle.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And I'm angry as can be. And it was just one of those gut check moments that it was like, who are you?
Yeah.
Is that really who you are? And I'll tell you what, my life shifted after that. And I just had this peace, this calmness that came over me. And it was really, really moving.
Yeah, that's an important story. I appreciate you sharing that. Travel always changes us in some way. Mark Twain said that travel's fatal to prejudice. I think it's fatal to a lot of the things that make us less than who we want to be. I think it helps us be more patient. I think it helps us be a lot more tolerant. It helps us realize that, it's kind of like that cosmic insignificance theory of like we're like on this rock spinning through space in one solar system, in one galaxy among billions of galaxies, and it does give us a little bit of perspective. And then we come across someone like that young child that is finding joy in the most simple of things, and we see it around the world. We have all seen it, where we're in the developing world and there's happy kids. And the more developed the places that we go to, the more access they have to technology, the more access they have to comforts, oftentimes the less happy they are. And maybe even the less happy that I am.
Yeah.
So how about you, Brittany? What was one of those moments like that was really powerful for you?
To your point, I think I used to have a lot of strong opinions about things, just simple things like how great full-time travel was. And I think when we first started, granted, this is a really long time ago now, almost 12 years ago.
Yeah, we're on our 12th year.
I thought everyone should travel full-time if they could. And now everything is more nuanced. I'm so less willing to say this is absolutely the way it is. And even with travel, I don't think that travel is for everybody anymore.
It's not.
Certainly
It's
not full-time travel. Because it's not the pinnacle, I don't think. And that goes back to what is travel for? And I think that some of us idealize travel as this ultimate end, this ultimate goal. But I think the same things are ultimate goals as they always were. It's all the characteristics that we want to have. It's that patience, the appreciation for others. And there's so many different ways to get to those character goals. Travel is one way to do it.
Yes.
But it's a tough way too, especially when you're doing it full time in a small vehicle. And you can't have everything in that way. And I think I used to think, oh, I'm going to be able to figure out my life so that I could have all these healthy rhythms and fit in everything I wanted to do with the exercise and the work and still travel. And I've learned that I can't have it all and kind of come to peace with that this is a chapter of travel for us, but it's also going to mean sacrificing a lot of things, even sacrificing things for my son Caspian that maybe he's not able to do because we're not in one place all the time, but it's not forever. And coming to understand travel as a means to an end, where I think I used to place it higher. I used to put more value on it.
That makes sense. And I think that I know in my own experience that travel is a very convenient way to escape things. And we can continue to escape during the travels, maybe even the changes that we need to make within ourselves or the things that we need to come to terms with. So if we let travel shape us and open us up and become a little bit more aware of the things that we want different in our life, it can be really a powerful tool. But otherwise, we can just traveling for travel's sake can be pretty hedonistic if we're not careful. We're just like giving ourselves this ability to run from the things that we may need to change, really need to change within ourselves. So I see that in travelers. You kind of get to that point where you realize like it's not all of the luxury and the exceptionalism that we think it is, that there are challenges with travel. There's things that we have to give up, and that's another choice in life.
And it's just like any other pleasure. Just like if you sit down to eat a huge slice of cake, by the end of the slice, you're not enjoying it as much as you were at first. And it's a psychological principle with pleasure and pain. We can all have too much pleasure in that we have to keep going farther and going stronger to get the same hit that the activity used to get us. And we certainly got to that planning fatigue point, that place of I can't see another ruin because I've seen enough, or I can't see another cathedral because I've seen enough.
I've done that,
Where at the beginning it was magical. And that's something to wrestle with too. What do you do with that when you're on the road full time and still wanting to enjoy every little thing? But just the way your mind works.
What did you guys do to address that?
I mean, this year we made a huge change, which was we got off the road. And we've been off the road since March. And we decided to move into backpacks for 10 months and just go hang out in Mexico for a while. And we had hardly any stuff, but we were in walls. And I did things. I got a gym membership. Caspian went to camp. We did things that we haven't been able to do. And it recalibrated me in a lot of ways, especially in a burnout sense. I think that on the road, sometimes I operated a low-level burnout pretty much all the time, but that became the normal. And so in Mexico, I was able to recalibrate and no, this is normal. This is healthy. And so now maybe, hopefully, I can take that into Africa to know myself better, to maybe guard against more of that burnout.
Do you think it helped getting to that first big goal of making it to Ushuaia? Do you think it helped like, oh, it's getting to this thing that we have put out as this North Star. That can be very dangerous for all of us when we get to the North Star, that then you like, well, now what happens now?
What do you think?
Well, Scott and I were talking about this right before we went on air about how the last time we were here, we almost felt like we had this imposter syndrome because we hadn't done anything yet. Like we were building Dauntless. We didn't even have him built yet. And you talk about getting to that North Star, getting to that milestone. I remember turning to Brittany and Caspian after we took the photo in front of the Ushuaia sign at the bottom of the world. And I said to my wife and son, nobody can ever take this from you. Mm-hmm. You did this. You got here. And for the rest of your life, you can say that you drove to the bottom of the world, right? And there was this fulfillment that took place there. But then it's like, what's next? And a lot of people don't realize this. You get to the bottom of the world, you got to turn around and go back up.
You got to go somewhere else.
Right? And it's a big, big continent. I think a lot of people don't understand just how big South America is. And, talking a little bit about this, I did one of those overlay deals where you take a country and you overlay it on a different part of the world. And just the country of Colombia, which looks tiny on the map. I'm looking at the globe across over here. It looks tiny. It goes from Vancouver, British Columbia to San Diego. Yeah. Right. And then you look at that compared to Argentina or compared to Chile, and it's just massive. Yeah. Right. And they don't understand how far this really is. And to be able to say that we drove there, that was something special. But we always had our sights set on Africa. We knew Africa was coming up next for us. So we had a motivation to turn around and get north so that we could prepare Dauntless to be shipped.
I think Ushuaia meant more to me than I thought that it would, because I'm not country counting. That stuff doesn't matter to me too much. But as we were approaching that day, I was like, wow, this really is incredible. And I follow pretty much every Pan-American traveler there is. So it's like every other day I see a Ushuaia photo. Yeah, sure. It's like everybody's there. That's the way it feels like to me, because that's my world that I'm in. But it was very meaningful to make it there, very special.
And they have coffee shops.
Yes.
They do have coffee shops, but she had to earn it. She decided she was going to do a polar plunge. So this is what happens. We get to the bottom of the world and Brittany's like, I'm going to strip down into my bikini and I'm going to run out onto the beach and dunk myself in the water. And so I'm like, are you serious?
And it was the one day it snowed in our whole trip. It was that day.
Well, and then Caspian's been wanting to film. So we gave him Brittany's iPhone and I film on my iPhone. So I got horizontal, he got vertical, and his video is hilarious.
I didn't know, but he decided to chase me. So his footage is just like this.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and then I went to a coffee shop after
that.
Yeah,
she did.
Yeah. I mean, that's such an interesting place because you drive through such nothingness, very small, population concentricity in that or concentration in that part of the world. And then it's a city. It is genuinely a city. It's not like this Star Wars outpost. It's very much like a city with grocery stores and a port and coffee shops.
So touristed with the cruise ships.
That's right.
Because
Antarctica.
The cruise ship visitors are coming in, everything is priced for the cruise ship visitors. Right. So it was an interesting dynamic, not what I expected. My favorite was Punta Arenas down there. And that's where Shackleton came back to. And so they have the bar there where they went that night. And
wow.
They made their famous speeches.
Oh, we're huge history buffs. So we were walking around all the historical markers and being like, wow, this is where it happened. Yeah, it was really cool.
Well, I think that those explorers like Shackleton, there's so much to learn from them, especially how he managed a group of people. And I mean, historically, it's very significant that he was able to, that they were all able to overcome what they did and that they all survived it, only to come back and end up being thrown into a world war. And a lot of them didn't make it through that. They made it through one of the most insane expeditions recorded in history, and only to have, the powerful elites, casting their lives away. So, and history repeats itself. So, I think that for me, I felt similar because that was where Expedition 7 ended. So we had done all 7 continents, and the last thing on the list, the last item on all of that driving in 4.5 years of my life was Ushuaia. So there was definitely a moment where I had to recalibrate, and it took me quite a while to get used to not traveling that way and the intensity of that. And like constantly overcoming challenges and having a lot of new experiences to then coming back and trying to fit into a regular work schedule and a regular home schedule. And that was very difficult for me.
Well, it was funny because when we got to Guanajuato, so we went to Guanajuato, Mexico to rest. And like Brittany said, we were there for 5.5 months, and we had a little apartment that we had. And I'll never forget, Caspian said to me, he says, "Daddy, we're going on vacation." And I was like, "What? I don't understand." He goes, "Well, we're not going anywhere." Yeah. So for him, it's completely reversed because he's been a full-time traveler his whole life. So for him, normal life is traveling.
That's how he defines vacation.
But vacation is
staying in one place.
Staying in one place.
I probably felt like that, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, it did. It was a good rest, like Brittany said. It was really important. And I think a lot of times people forget, too, that we have been on the road. We're on our 12th year of full-time travel, owning no home or property. And so for us to be in one place for that long, I think that's the longest Caspian's ever been in one location.
Yeah, I think shelter in place was close.
Yeah, in his entire life.
Where did you guys shelter in place?
Seattle, at Eric's mom's house.
Okay. So that was the only interruption really to your trip was to fly back. Well, it was probably early 2020.
Well, that was before we left on our big trip. So we had a Winnebago RV at that time.
Okay,
so we just parked it in the driveway.
Oh, has it been that long? I guess it has. Yeah. It was after you guys left after COVID. It's the time warp of COVID.
Yeah, but when we left, borders were still closed in Central America. I think they were closed at Nicaragua. And so they kind of opened in front of us as we went. And we had planned in Mexico to do this big Latin American planning session where we knew everything we needed to know. But the vaccine requirements alone were changing practically every week. So we just gave up planning.
Yeah,
we're like, we'll just go a country at a time because everything was in flux all the time.
Yeah, that was such a crazy time for sure. Now, we'll pivot a little bit into kind of some of the things that you guys have learned more around the vehicle and everything else. But you guys talk about what vehicle did you choose and what vehicle did you build for the trip, and what were some of the things that you think worked great and what were some of the things that maybe didn't work so great?
So we ended up with a 2021 Jeep Gladiator Sport. So the lowest model because it had the highest payload. And we added an AluCab canopy camper on the back, and then, of course, electrical, water, and the whole 9 yards, all the things.
We tried really hard to stay under payload.
Yes.
With our spreadsheet.
We had a spreadsheet to try and stay under payload. And I think overall we did really well on the build. The build is very thoughtful. We do have a video that kind of talks more. It's not just what we have on it, but the philosophy behind it. Like, in other words, why we place this here and how this functions and why this is important. And that has helped a lot of people. And of course, there were things that worked. One of the questions that I get all the time is there anything you would have changed on your build? And for the most part, the answer is no.
I would think for years, the answer was no. We love this vehicle.
Yeah.
It's been working great.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Patagonia kind of wrecked us that things started to change.
Yeah, Dauntless is what we call the vehicle, and he's done great in everything we've put him through. So we've been very, very happy with the Jeep as a platform. It's the modifications that we made. And in hindsight, I would have had some redundant systems that I didn't build into place. And then we kind of had to trail fix and figure out on the road. So kind of one of the craziest stories for us was when we had the longest travel day we ever had. It was over 16 hours of driving, 3 ferries, and we ended up at the very start of the remote section of the Carretera Austral in Chilean Patagonia. We arrived at 3:30 in the morning off the final ferry. We're all exhausted. We parked Dauntless in essentially a really long parking lot with a bunch of other vehicles, and we lost all power to the habitat. It was everything just shut off at 3:30 in the morning.
And it was a part we had been having issues with over and over again.
And so, yeah, and understand that that's why, like, we specifically designed Dauntless for that section of the Carretera Austral. So we had the heater inside, the Webasto heater, and we had the electricity for the fridge and the power and everything. And we had nothing. We had no fridge. We had no heat.
Well, we had a fridge full of food.
Yes.
And no power.
And so it was one of those moments like, holy smokes, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And we kind of had to figure it out in one of the most remote sections of South America that there is on the Carretera. By this time, we're hundreds of miles from Puerto Montt, and we're 2,200 kilometers from Punta Arenas. So we're in the middle of nowhere with no habitat power.
So you had to rewire our hood solar panel, which was not meant to go to a lithium battery, but you hooked it up anyway with a wire from an electrical engineer that we found in Chaiten. And he was amazing.
Yeah.
And that gave us just
we just did a workaround.
80 watts or something of
we
power.
we have a 80 watt solar panel on the hood that's meant for the cranking battery.
Yeah, sure.
But we basically took the solar controller, got some wire of the appropriate gauge, rewired it to go directly from there to the fridge and underneath the Jeep. And it was, to the battery, I'm sorry. And it was just enough to keep it topped off. Meanwhile, we ordered our part, which had to come in from Australia. And the nearest place it could be shipped was 2,200 kilometers away.
Yeah, sure.
Right? That's like that we could safely get it to us. So we weren't going to have it for this stretch. And then, of course, I'm married to a crazy woman who wants to go to this ferry that has been booked for the past 4 months solid, and we don't have tickets for. But in order to get to that, we've got to go off-road like 6 hours to Caleta Yungue to see if there's any chance we can get on the ferry. And if we can't get on it, we have to turn around, come back the 4 to 6 hours.
And cross over to Argentina.
And cross over. And so we did that too. It was just, it was a lot.
You guys had an adventure.
We did.
We did. But to Scott's question, rear lockers
Yes.
are something that you've talked about, because when we got stuck in Nicaragua, we found out that there wasn't really any power to reverse this Jeep Gladiator. The power just wasn't there in reverse. And so that recovery was a lot harder than it probably needed to be. And you spent 2.5 hours digging.
Yeah, and not even for the rear lockers for reverse, but the rear lockers for going forward once I could move the vehicle.
Yeah.
And so honestly, MaxTrax saved the day on that day.
Yeah.
It was something that we used them multiple times over and over and over. And we had an adventure there. We tell people all the time, if these things hadn't happened to us, we wouldn't have a story to tell.
Yeah,
it would just be a drive, right?
Yeah.
But there were a lot of
But we
things.
do live around our vehicle, and that's just the truth of it. And when the weather's good, it's awesome. It's magic. But when the weather's bad, it's really, really challenging.
You're in a very small space.
Yeah, well, you're outside. I mean, we really can't do anything inside other than sleep and sit.
Yeah.
That's all it's for.
Sure.
So we're toileting outside. I'm cooking outside. I've had some cooking adventures. Outside Cotopaxi, it was my coldest cooking ever with the wind just whipping, and I loved it, but it's still really challenging. And so after Patagonia, because it was such a long stretch, that's the point that we started thinking, are we really going to take this vehicle around the world? Yeah. And I think we're still talking about that. I think it's still the right one for Africa, especially because of its size and its off-road capability.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens when we get to Europe.
And speaking of size, Caspian's not getting any smaller.
Sure.
Right? And so that impacts things. And we love Dauntless. Like, he's honestly been a great, great platform for us. But at the end of the day, he's a tool, right? He's a means to an end. We're the overlanders, not the rig. And so there's no shame. There's no, guilt in trading him in or doing something different if it's going to fit our family better for the journey that we want to take. But as it stands right now, Dauntless is the rig we're taking to Africa and maybe even Europe and maybe Asia. We'll see. We'll see. We don't know, Scott.
Might just push through. I look at it Richard and Ashley's rig.
Yeah.
And I really think that really understanding what they do, that's where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting once you kind of move up to a camper in the back where it's not a habitat. It's actually got like a small dinette and the ability to shower inside, the ability to cook inside. Yeah, I've kind of found that for me to be the sweet spot. There's still compromises, but it's for my form of travel. I think like a mid-sized truck with a camper is pretty ideal. And that's for 2 people, but I mean, you're dealing with 3, but
Having said that, when we were on in 2021, we talked about how much we love going into the villages and even the cities, and how this rig allows us to pull up on the Zocalo.
Yeah.
Or just go visit, go have a meal. Like, we've just gone in for a meal and then we've left town. And that ended up being true. We absolutely could do that. And we did it a lot.
Yeah.
And we knew ourselves enough to know that we love the culture of cities. And we spent more time in cities than I think a lot of overlanders do, just because it's something that we love. We love going to the museums and going to eat at the local restaurants. And if we had Richard and Ashley's truck, we couldn't have done that.
Yeah, it would have been a lot more difficult.
We wouldn't have fit in any garages. We mostly didn't fit anyway, but we did squeak into some garages.
Yeah.
And just the amount of curbs we even had to hop with Dauntless.
Yeah.
Yeah, those colonial towns, which are the ones you want to go to because they have all the history and the beautiful architecture, and a lot of times they're the draw. They're small streets. They weren't made for big vehicles. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We've hopped our share of curbs for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know that we want to give that up, and that's just the question. It's always a trade-off.
It is a trade-off, and depending on what route you guys want to do in Africa, it would depend too. I mean, a lot of people have done big rigs on the eastern route, but it's a lot more difficult to do a big vehicle on the western route. Less options.
I think we're planning to do just a loop around the southern countries. We may go as far north as Angola and then basically cut east from there.
Yeah.
If we decide to go clockwise. If we go counterclockwise, it'll be different. But essentially just a loop around the southern part of the continent is what our plan is. And we plan to do a year in Africa. That's the initial, that's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
We'll see. But we travel very slowly, Scott. We got passed by people. We were already in Peru. People were leaving Tuck and passing us on the way to Ushuaia.
Sure.
So we travel. When I say we travel slow, we travel very.
It's
very
this
slow.
fascinating thing about the Pan American that it's all around Ushuaia and the weather. And I don't know how many places in the world are like that, with Ushuaia being the goal. And so what I saw were these cohorts forming of travelers who tended to travel in a pack because they were all trying to hit Ushuaia in the same summer.
Yeah.
And that was really cool because it's a great way to make friends too and kind of see the same people. But we were passed by probably 3 cohorts because we took 4 years in Latin America.
Which is incredible, though. I mean, what an experience. So what were some of the highlights for you in Mexico?
Well, I know what Caspian would say. He's sleeping over on the couch. He's a little under the weather, but he would definitely say the cenotes and the Yucatan were for him. For me in Mexico, it was honestly seeing family, right? Because I have family there. And so for me, that's very special. But as far as what other travelers might experience, I really enjoyed La Huasteca Potosina, which is a fascinating place. It's a tropical paradise that's like 4.5 hours south of the Texas border. And here's what I tell people all the time on various groups, overlanding things, when people ask me, people will cross Texas to get from California to Florida, won't even think about it. Right. But it takes longer to cross Texas than it does to go round trip from Texas to La Huasteca Potosina and back. But they won't do that because it involves crossing an international border. But the reality is you're transported into another world. I mean, you're talking about crystal blue water, waterfalls, palm trees, great food,
Mexico's got great food.
Yeah. and just a wonderful, welcoming place where the people are hospitable. And it's literally 4 hours away. Yeah. But people don't do it. And I'm like, just take the chance. It's so easy to go down there and come back up, But that place is marvelous.
And that road down there, as I remember, is like it's a 4-lane highway for most of it.
There's a network of toll roads all through interior Mexico. They even have the Angeles Amarillas or something.
Angeles Verdes.
The green angels who come and offer roadside assistance on the toll roads.
Which is included in your toll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like free AAA on their toll roads.
I still love traveling to Mexico. So it's a very special place in the world, and we're so lucky that it's close to
it's
the
still
US.
our favorite.
Yeah, well,
it's
and
our
that's
favorite country.
Yes, so that's the other thing. We ask people this question all the time who have done this journey. After you went all the way to the bottom of the world, what was your favorite country?
Yeah,
90% of them will tell you Mexico, and it's ours as well. Now there were some others that are really, really high up there for us, but if we had to pick one to recommend, it would be Mexico, and it's right there.
Yeah, I really loved Guanajuato. That whole kind of the hub of the Revolucion, that whole Hidalgo and San Miguel de Allende. These are really incredible places up in the mountains. People don't even realize like how special they are. So for Central America, what was a high point?
Central America was interesting because we were there during rainy season, and it was a long rainy season. And so from May to November, it rained every day.
Every day.
And that was really something to deal with. There was one night in Nicaragua that Caspian got sick. He had a stomach bug. And there was an invasion of flying ants. One time a year, all the ants take to the sky with their wings and they're mating in the air. And we had everything closed in the Jeep and they were getting in. And I had my vacuum and I was trying to vacuum them out of the Jeep. It was chaos. It was pure chaos. And
we were in Patagonia years later and still pulling carcasses out. I mean, when Brittany, she's understating this. It was a swarm of biblical proportions that took place.
Yeah, and their wings would come off. And so to this day, we go through the Jeep and we say, termite wing, whenever we find one. So,
Amazing.
Right, but we were asked about high points.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's where I went.
No, I like it. I like the stories, though. That's great.
I mean, you love Tikal.
Yes, my high point had to be Tikal, the ruins in Guatemala, the Mayan ruins, specifically because I have Mayan heritage. So my grandfather was Mayan from Guatemala. And so his ancestors were from Tikal. And so there was just something very special about being there for me personally. And I'm a disabled veteran, so I don't really climb a lot of pyramids. Usually Brittany and Caspian do the climbing. Every now and then we'll get to somewhere like Tikal or like Machu Picchu where I'm like, I don't care what this makes my knees feel like, I'm climbing this, right? Tikal was one of those places. I actually climbed a pyramid in Tikal and stood up over all of the forest, you know, and just looked out on it and just kind of took in that moment. So that was really, really special for me.
Guatemala is cool.
It is. Well, I was going to say Lake Atitlan and Antigua are two favorites of mine after all these years. I still think about them all the time. That lake is incredible with the volcanoes rising over it. And we camped on this wide lawn of a hotel. We were literally right on the water.
Wow. And you went paragliding.
I did. Yeah. I went paragliding over the lake.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that in Central America, you can get to elevation, which is the reprieve from the heat. So it's oftentimes people will think, oh, it's going to be so hot and muggy the whole time down Central America. And if you get up to like Antigua, for example, like it's probably one of the best weathers in the world, other than if sometimes it's raining and sometimes it's not. But every day it's very temperate because of the elevation.
Even in El Salvador, which is teeny tiny, there is this route of the roses that goes up in elevation, and that was really nice.
20 minutes, like 20, 30 minutes, you would change elevation so drastically that you could have a comfortable night's sleep and then go visit the beach during the evenings when it's a little cooler or whatever the case may be. But 20, 25 minutes.
We were in El Salvador just after the new president, who's still in power, and I think holding on to power pretty tightly. But he had made a lot of changes, and the local people, they approved of them. And one of the things was infrastructure. So those roads in El Salvador were some of the best we had in Central America.
No, they were the best.
It was a huge surprise, and it had such a reputation even as we were going in, and we found it completely different.
Yeah, we were told not to go.
Talked about
by other overlanders. We were told not to go. Like, this is not a good time to go. But we went in there. It was completely peaceful, completely different. The roads were perfect. It felt like I had driven back into the United States. So it was.
So much of this is just timing. You know, it's just like you get there at the right time geopolitically, and it could be a totally different experience.
Sure.
Yeah, things are constantly changing in both directions.
I was looking at a map the other day of Western Africa and the State Department, how it classifies by color. And like people wouldn't know it, but like Senegal right now is a blue country, which means there are no warnings.
Wow.
And there are many European countries that are not blue.
Sure.
So like it just depends. Like 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been blue, and it is now because the people have made changes to their country that have, like Rwanda is another great example, and it's pretty incredible how quickly those things can shift one direction or the other. And sometimes even when you're there, it can shift. So
you have to talk to people who were just there, because everything else can be pretty useless and cause you to make some poor decisions because you don't actually know how it is. I mean, we look on iOverlander, and for example, there's a lot of warnings that are on there, but some of them are from 10 years years ago.
Sure.
And it was a one-time thing.
Yep.
So you have to take those with a grain of salt.
And there's all the good memories, but then there's also the challenges that came along. I'll never forget. We were going to see a friend who just bought this retreat just outside of Samara in Costa Rica. And she had specifically given Brittany a map and said, follow this route to get to my place.
Don't follow Google Maps.
Right? And she said, don't follow Google Maps. Well, Brittany forgot to tell me that morning, so I punched it into Google Maps, and I took the Google Maps route. It took us to this river. And we've crossed hundreds of rivers by now, without exaggerating, just, from all of our travels. And so I looked at this, I looked at the ground, I looked at the current, I looked at the distance, the entrance, the exit, all the things that I normally do, and I'm like, this is not a problem. I put Dauntless into the river. And the bottom just dropped out. And all of a sudden, the water level was up to above the fender wells. I'm looking for my seatbelt cutter and lowering the windows, and Caspian's in the back. Daddy, are we okay? We're fine, son. And I'm just like motoring through, not breaking the plane that I've already started, not shifting gears or anything, and just recalling all the things that I've learned and studied in this moment. But my heart was just racing. I thought we were about to get swept down this river. So we get out, and we made it out. So we get to the other side, and Brittany's like, turn off the Jeep. I want to go take pictures. I said, no, we are not turning this Jeep off until we're around another human being, because we're in the middle of nowhere, right? Sure. So we get to this restaurant. You can see the water lines. We took some photos. We go into the restaurant, and the lady is like, oh, welcome, blah, blah, blah. And we sat down, and somehow we got on the subject. She's like, what brings you here? I said, well, we just came through the river. And she says, no, you can't come through the river. And I said, no, we just did come through the river. And she goes, no, that's impossible. You can't do that, right? And I said, we did. And she didn't believe me. So she wanted to go see the vehicle. So she saw it, and she was like, oh, my gosh, you came through the river. So we're sitting there having a meal. And a few minutes later, this guy comes in. He's like, you're never going to believe these crazy Americans drove through the river, right? And we're sitting there, right? It was so funny, but nobody, and because all the locals know, you don't
do it.
There's a time, there's a season that this is
and
the
it's
road,
not this.
but it's not this season. Yeah, it was really fun.
Oh, and then how about South America? What were a couple of the highlights there?
Oh,
For me, the people were the highlights. And so because of that, Colombia and Brazil were the countries that made the biggest impression on me. Both people were so warm, so giving. We got rhinovirus in Brazil, but for a long time we didn't know because we didn't go to the doctor. And I'm like laid out in the Jeep near the beach in Brazil, and there's nothing around. It's a small town, and we're not even really in it. And this Brazilian family came to camp next to us in a beautiful Defender, and they didn't speak English, and we didn't speak Portuguese, but she was making meals for me. She cooked for the boys because I couldn't get up to do that. They were going to, it's a famous island right there, Isla de Mel.
Ilha de Mor. Ilha de Mor.
Portuguese.
And
they were just going on a day trip as a family. They didn't know you at all. They had pulled in the night before and hadn't even talked to you. They said to Eric, you want to come with us? And Eric and Caspian hopped into their Defender, and they had this amazing day trip to this island. They took a ferry. They ate together.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just that
I've never been to Brazil. I'd love to go.
Oh my gosh.
I'd love to go. Yeah.
Okay, that we need to talk about this. Okay? Because we almost didn't go to Ushuaia. To tell you how amazing Brazil was, we knew we had this window of weather to get through Patagonia, because you have to get down and up during that window, right?
Yeah.
And we're having the time of our lives in Brazil. We're just like blown away by the people, the food, the all the things. And I turned to Brittany. I'm like, why are we going to Ushuaia? Like, why don't we just, I mean, it's such a huge country. Why don't we stay here and explore this? And we were this close to just scrapping Ushuaia.
Oh, wow.
And the crazy thing is we were only in the southern part. So we didn't do the Pantanal. We didn't go to Sao Paulo or Rio. We weren't up there at all. We were in this tiny part of the southern part of Brazil, places on the map that we had no idea where they were, although Graham told me some places to go to that were great. And we still loved it. So I can't even imagine if we were farther north in the places
Scott,
that more people go to.
Without exception, Brazil was my favorite country in South America.
Wow.
Not even close. Like there isn't anybody else on a plateau with them. It's that amazing of a country.
Yeah. So in the future, I would love to just ship a vehicle probably into Montevideo because Brazil's right there, but do it for Brazil.
Wow.
And we have a storage unit in Montevideo now where we would, you could go store your vehicle there
Yeah.
and come back and do Brazil some more.
That would be amazing.
And I think that's what a lot of these Europeans do. They're
I've heard
coming-
nothing but great things about it. So
I'm
That's
shocked
it.
that you haven't been there. I mean,
No?
you've been all over the world, but I'll tell you what, Scott,
it's a big world. A lot still to see.
make it a point to do
Yeah.
that.
No, I'd
you
love to
you
do
will
that.
not be disappointed in Brazil. But as far as other South America, something that really impacted me was the Galapagos.
Yeah.
And I know it's funny because you can't drive there. We had parked in Quito and we flew to the Galapagos, but wow, like that was so incredible. We swimming with a marine iguana. Like they're only found in the Galapagos. You can't find them anywhere else in the world. And you're
Wow.
literally snorkeling or whatever, and they're literally swimming right next to you.
Dragons swimming. with
Yeah, yeah, just wild. But that was really special for me.
Yeah, and we
Something I'll never forget.
self-toured the Galapagos. So I think a lot of people don't go because it's known as being very expensive. But that's because most people are doing the cruises.
Yeah, sure.
And the cruises are $5,000 a person.
Yeah.
But we just flew in with our backpacks and did our own thing.
And you made it work.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
That's
awesome.
incredible. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you guys, now that you've had this really long journey together down to Ushuaia and 12 years on the road together, Eric, why don't you share like a couple of things that you're most proud of Brittany in your travels?
Wow. How much time do we have? Well, first of all, this was all her idea, Scott. I think a lot of people assume it was the guy that said, we're going to drive around the world. I didn't have a clue what overlanding was. It was Brittany did all the research. It was all her idea. So one of the things that I admire about my bride is fearlessness, sense of adventure, right? Just this mentality of it doesn't matter what gets in our way. We're going to figure out a way to either go over, go under, or blast a hole through, but we're getting there, right?
Yeah, sure.
And just having that spirit of like relentlessness, that's something that I really appreciate. And then honestly, her friendship, she's my best friend,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine yes, we're married and all that stuff, but I can't imagine doing this with anyone else. You're living in 20 square feet of space for an indefinite period of time. We've been on the road for 12 years. And she is on. I know you're supposed to say that, Scott, but I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it to impress anybody. Brittany is my best friend. And I'll tell you, we are closer today than we've been in our marriage. And we've been married 14 years.
Yeah, sure.
So this process for us has brought us closer together. So that's what I would share.
Oh, that's incredible. How about for you? What are some of the things that stand out about Eric?
So this trip tried us these past 4 years, and especially even the past 1 year. We had some low points because we were both at low points.
Yeah.
I was so burnt out, but I didn't even know. I wasn't even acknowledging it. And Eric was having a lot of physical difficulties with the cold and with his mobility. And that was really, really trying. We basically fought the whole way up South America.
Yeah.
Seriously,
It
like
happens.
every
Yeah, it
day
happens.
we were just having conflict about how we were going to go to Africa, the schedule, and everything. And so people should not think that we have it all together.
No, there
That's
were times where
very important.
I turned to her and I said, if it's going to continue like this, we're not going to Africa.
Yeah.
It got to
yeah.
that point.
Yeah, totally. But what makes this work and what I appreciate about Eric is your selflessness, because there were so many times that he put me first. And that's what this takes.
Yeah.
Like if there's some secret sauce, it's putting the other person first.
Yeah.
And
Probably every day. Wake up in the morning. and-
yeah, because we don't want the same things and we can't both get what we want. I'm the one who wants to go to the crazy places. I want to go off-road, places that we don't have information about. I want to wild camp, and Eric wants to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And those two things are often completely at odds with each other. And so there were a lot of places I wanted to go that we didn't go. And there were a lot of places Eric didn't want to go that he took me because he saw how much it meant to me. And so that was a constant give and take that is very fundamentally part of who we are. It's not just, I want to go here. It's like Eric is a person who wants to protect his family. That's who he is. And I'm a person who wants to adventure.
Yeah.
And that's who I am. And so those are some fundamentally deep things to give up and find that give and take.
And isn't that most of life? We're in that constant readjustment with the people that we love. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
But what an incredible journey, and I'm so proud of both of you for what you've accomplished. I mean, Brittany, you've been an incredible contributor to Overland Journal. We are so honored to have you regularly contributing to the magazine and to Expedition Portal. It's for us, it helps us to elevate the content that we do, and it's reflected in all of the work that you have done for us as a team. So we're so thankful to have you a part of our story. And it's so fun to have you guys here as friends, to reconnect after so many years ago having this podcast when you guys were just getting started. And now, we all still have that sense of imposter syndrome. I still have it because but that's the beautiful thing of it. We can never know it all. Yeah. I still know 0.1% of what I want to know about travel. Mm-hmm. And the deeper you get, the deeper it gets. And I think that's the point, is that we always want to be learning, and we always want to be reminding ourselves that we don't know even a fraction of what we hope to know.
It's a joy.
It is a joy.
It's a joy to learn, and to do it with Caspian too is pretty incredible.
To watch him just actively. Well, speaking of Caspian, it looks like he's asleep, but that's totally okay.
Yeah, he's running a fever today.
Yeah, no, he's healing up. Well, we're going to have you guys on the podcast, of course, again. So we'll make sure that Caspian gets his cameo in there. But thank you both so much for the time today. Thank you for being on the podcast. I wish we had 6 more hours to keep talking. I think we had that much time left on the card, but unfortunately we got to move on to other things. But I'm so grateful that you guys are here, and I'm so excited to hear about the updates to your trip. How do people follow you guys?
So we're Hourless Life everywhere. So hourlesslife.com is our blog. We have 500 articles on there, and a lot of them are for families. Yep. They're for full-time travelers. They're for people in the United States, because we did a lot of our travels in the U.S.
Sure.
So there's a huge repository of knowledge there.
And we share our story in a travel log style video on our YouTube channel, which is also Hourless Life. I think we're around 23,000 subscribers that are following our journey around the world, and many of them have become regular commenters because every video picks up where the last one left off.
Sure.
So you can drive around the world with us, right?
They're on the journey with you.
It's kind of different. We're not professional filmmakers or anything like that, but we're just sharing the journey, and a lot of people have kind of really gotten into that.
And same with Instagram. You guys are Hourless Life.
Yes, Instagram is the other platform that we're active on.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for being on the podcast with me today. And we thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.